I can't really remember what I was saying now. You distracted me.
What I'm trying to say is...
All right, gang. So this... Gang?
We're not in a gang. We're not in a gang. Nah, you're just saying that.
No, 100%.
You're lying to me now.
All right, Red Mate.
Red Mate.
All right, guys. I'm Chris.
I'm Ant.
And this is Red Mate. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a hot topic, and that is, will Stevie G ever get to manage Liverpool? Obviously, Aston Villa going through a bit of a rough spell recently, kind of putting a few question marks up regarding his capacity to manage. So we'll just have a bit of a discussion about that one. What do you reckon?
Feels like it's a bit of like a destiny for him to do it. Obviously, as like a player, as the club legend, as he was getting older, you're kind of thinking like this is natural transition, but then he's kind of got to go through the whole process of earning his badges and kind of getting that reputation and getting a decent CV to then apply for it, because the Liverpool job's not just any club. That's obviously a big club. Of recent, they've had a lot of success on a club. Premier League title in the last 3 years, Champions League. Can't just take someone just off the basis that they played for us.
Yeah, definitely.
As a fan, I'd like to see it happen, but at the same time, I don't want them to appoint him if I'm not convinced he's a good manager either, because my loyalty is to the club ahead of him, and I want to see Liverpool win. I'm not going to ever steer away from that just because, Gerrard's in charge. Like, we can lose a few games as long as I see him there. Like, get us relegated, I don't care. So long as Gerrard's manager, I'm happy. Like, my priority is obviously going to be like winning games, winning trophies. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. There was that time where it lined up where Klopp did the contract to 2024, and so did he.
Yes.
And it kind of looked like, okay, it's happening here. But since then, like, Klopp's done the extension, and then he was doing well at Rangers, and it kind of looked like, okay, this will happen now. And Villa, he's getting tested a bit more. It's still quite open. We'll have to just kind of see how the next few years goes. I don't think they'll be looking at it maybe for at least another 5 years, until at least Klopp's gone. But potentially, I'm even seeing like a manager between them. I don't think it'll go Klopp Gerrard at the very least.
Yeah. I think it's probably worth touching on maybe the start and going from there as to why might Gerrard be linked with such a job? Like, why is that the case?
Why is that the case?
Exactly. It's purely based on player alone. So it's in actual fact, the second he retired and was like, I'm kind of thinking about this manager job. It's like, one day he'll be the future manager. It's like, if he's not actually managed, he's not done anything. So right now, this link, this connection is purely based on his ability as a football player without any proof as a manager. Building on that, his first few seasons at Rangers didn't really do a great deal. He did eventually obviously win the league, but you'd probably say like all up, you would have expected better for a 2-horse race.
Like expected better than first and second?
Well, as in you'd be expecting some trophies outside of winning the one league title. Admittedly, that was his remit going in there, was obviously stop Celtics 10 in a row. That was the whole focus for Rangers and everything, getting that 55th title. But outside of that one achievement, did he really do much? They had a few good European runs, but I'm not sure as a big picture they were seeing him walk away and being like, wow, we're really missing a key manager or a key figure that's played a part in the last 3 and a bit seasons or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think he'll just get the approval from Rangers fans and just get that tick, because he did stop the 10 and he did bring them their first title back for so many years. But going back to your first point of like, why is he linked with it? I think he definitely would want it.
For sure.
Like, if you said to him, what is your dream club to manage? I can't imagine him saying anyone else other than Liverpool.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's the same for, like, you or I. Like, I have no aspirations of ever managing football at any level.
Yeah, but there's no
However,
point.
if you could say, what's your dream club? I would say, Liverpool.
But no one's going to link me with, like, managing Benfica, because I could get offered that and I'm like, no, I'm not really interested. Whereas if you offer Gerrard, I think we already know he's definitely going to want that job. Like, he might be worried, is it too soon? Is it too early? But he definitely wants that at some stage.
Yeah, but if you're if your goal is managing a football team, ultimately at some stage your next goal is just a team or a level above where you were before. So if you're wanting to get into management and Benfica come calling, you're going to go, and that's irrespective of what you're linked with.
He is like, I think if he's at Liverpool, he's not going to be there like, okay, what's the next step? Like, that's the top thing.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So that's like the top of the list. Like, that's his priority and that's his preference at all times.
Yeah. So what would it take for him to be considered for the manager's job then? Like, what is this guy's in contention versus this guy? Obviously, you look at someone like our current manager, Jurgen Klopp, has got success at Dortmund, success at Mainz, and has this aura and this connection with fans that links straight with Liverpool. If you were to say, a manager you would like to see come in after Klopp, they've likely got a CV there that you're like, for example, obviously he's been at Everton, but like a Carlo Ancelotti, like he's won titles here, 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 and here. He's won the Champions League. So you're going off what he's achieved. What would it take for Stevie G to be considered in that category?
Well, he can already tick off that first one. So when you said Klopp's got like the aura and like the respect and people like him and he'll connect with the city and he'll get the fans and the culture. Gerrard's obviously got that bit sorted. Mm-hmm. He's got that sorted years ago. So he'll know exactly what the fans want. He's going to go in there before even playing a game, fans are going to love him. So I think he's now, in terms of working out what it will take, it's now, what does his CV need to look like? He's obviously got like a trophy on there for winning the league with Rangers, but Liverpool are going to look at that in 5-10 years and go, oh yeah, he's been dreadful, but yeah, all that time ago he did win that. I think he'll still need to get some success. Whether he stays at Villa a bit longer, I think when he went in there, for them, their goals were, okay, let's try to get like European football back, like let's try to get Europa League, at least move the club forward. Regardless of like where a club is, whether it's like just got promoted trying to stay in the league or whether it's 12th trying to finish 11th, so long as he's taking a club forward, that's what they need to do. And I think that's what will make his time at Villa be a success. And then if he's achieved the relative success at Villa, I think he's in with a shout.
Yeah.
I think if you compare him to other managers and just kind of what we've seen these days between Arteta and Lampard, I mean, their CV, like Arteta, what had he even managed? He was just the second man, like Pep's right-hand man. So whether or not you want to say, he's had experience doing that and you can give him these trophies, he's obviously not the main man, but he's very much got that Arsenal job based on the fact, he's a previous player and he's just immediately got that ahead of someone else and they'll give him the benefit of the doubt, like fans will give him a bit more time and they'll be more patient with him. Same with Lampard. He's gone into that job with not a really good CV. And those two clubs, like Chelsea and Arsenal, they are clubs pushing for top four, potentially a title. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool did appoint him without really winning anything, just based on what we've seen. But as a fan, I would like to see a bit more from manager coming in.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting balance when you're looking at that next manager coming in, because it's a line of what did this manager bring in terms of their identity as a coach and what were some of their philosophies versus what was the club's ambitions. So say, for example, they're Frank Lampard. Obviously, Derby had ambitions of getting out of the Championship, but he also brought, a relatively positive style of play. He brought young players through, had good connections that maybe, obviously he made that jump to Chelsea, that maybe that mid-table Premier League side might be looking not necessarily at results or what he achieved, but what were some of the outcomes from his approach. And I think with Gerrard, that is probably something he would need to improve on, is that approach and what are we actually getting from Aston Villa outside of, hey, they finished in this position and they won A, B, C or D. Are they playing positive attacking football? Are they bringing talent through? What's his relationship like with the players? How is he in press conferences? Things like that. I think probably the best example is Pochettino. Outside of obviously going to PSG, what has he really ever won as a manager? Nothing. But he has this, thing where people love him and, some very big pundits out there have said like he's their favourite coach and he's their favourite manager and all these other things because there's an element to him as a coach or as a manager that people can relate to and feel like he's going in the right direction without actually ever having achieved Champions League, Premier League, winning a cup, those kind of things. So it's finding that balance between the two of identity and results.
Yeah, I think definitely for him, he's got the mixture of bringing the youth through, and when you've got players who are like quite young and he's kind of developed them and helping them get to the next level, plus a big thing like playing an attractive style of football that people want to watch and fans in the stadium can get behind. Because someone like a Mourinho who's had so much success, a lot of fans probably wouldn't want him because they're going to go from playing an exciting brand of football every weekend that they enjoy to watch and they're going to give that up for then being bored for 90 minutes, but then maybe scraping through a 1-0 and getting the results. So yeah, there's obviously clubs like have history of playing good football, and there's things certain fans want and certain things they expect. So yeah, Pochettino probably brings that. I think Gerrard's definitely playing a style of football from what I've seen that is very attacking, and it is good, and he's made a lot of signings at Villa, so we'll have to see kind of how he takes them under his wing, and you'd expect him to have a big impact on like midfield players and helping them with their game. It's interesting. I don't know if Liverpool have really a history of bringing in a player. I mean, you look at like Kenny Dalglish, like as a manager, he's kind of similar where he's that club legend. He's come in and has he won like a couple League Cups? Maybe one? I don't know his exact trophy record.
In that second spell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a League Cup and then the FA Cup final, wasn't it?
Yeah, but people will still have fairly fond memories of that, or maybe it's kind of these rose-tinted glasses because they'll be like, oh, it's Kenny, oh, how good was it when he was there?
I think with Kenny, though, he was obviously the manager before,
prior that,
and he did have like Premier League Division 1 success at the time and things like that.
But I think just the fact that he's maybe in terms of Liverpool, they weren't that great back then, so maybe kind of getting a trophy or two, they're like, oh yeah, that's good. But he's also kind of praised with bringing in like a few signings that he made. Like I think, did he sign Henderson?
Yeah.
And people will say like, oh, he's had a massive impact on his game, brought him along, and this guy's now a club captain. So yeah, even though he didn't really set the world alight at Liverpool, people might even deem that spell a success. So, if we keep Klopp now for a few years, we start going down, and Gerrard just slightly lifts that back up, even that will be a success. But we're going to be looking at what Villa do and how long he stays there, and then like short and medium term, are they actually moving forward? And then, yeah, I don't really have an exact thing in my mind. I think, okay, if he does this, that's good enough for me. Like, it's very like a bit of a grey area and taking it as it comes.
Yeah. Well, I think, there's obviously so many stats being thrown around about his like win ratio of Villa and things like that. Their last few games have not been amazing. And it's how can he as a manager turn those results around, and what does his identity look like when the going is getting tough? I think a couple of things obviously that stand out watching a few of Villa's games is there seems to be chopping and changing a lot, like who is their best 11. Players are coming in, players are coming out.
Well, even like he's famously just taken the captaincy off Mings.
Yes, yeah. And I think, obviously knowing nothing, like Mings is quite a popular character within that club, and
well, he was the captain. He stripped him from the captaincy. I'm pretty sure he dropped him.
And then brought him back in.
Yeah, and then they lost, and then like, oh, okay, maybe we actually do need him. Brought him back in. And it seems like a bit kind of reactive.
Yes.
Or he's wanting to play a certain way and gone, oh, maybe that's not working. He's backtracking now. I mean, it's obviously good to be adaptive and learn, but a lot of people want to see like an identity or have a manager who's kind of got a plan and sticks with it and then drives it forward. He spent a lot of money, so I think already that takes the expectation higher. Like, okay, if you're going to spend this much money, expected to get this many results. I think the big thing for Frank Lampard when he went to Chelsea is they had that transfer ban, and that's when they had to bring through all those players like Mount and Abraham.
That's why I kind of go into the identity thing of like, you could see at Derby he had this sort of system, as well as then having the element where he knew the club and he knew players had good contacts, where he could kind of bridge that gap. And I guess that's the biggest unknown is for us, where are Liverpool going to be when Klopp does decide it's time, at that 2024 sort of mark, and where will Stevie G, hopefully at Aston Villa, where will they be in their progression, and does that match?
Yeah.
Because I think timing has a massive element to do with it.
Is there anything that you'd want to be like, okay, this is at least one box I need ticked from Gerrard?
I would see, for me personally, it would be progressive finishes in the table. Like, I'd like to see Aston Villa consistently now start going into that top half and finishing in there consistently over time. Aston Villa fans would be saying like European football is their main aim, and I think like Steve G even did say that kind of when he came in, that was where he saw them going. But I think consistently improving in your league table finishes, like the table never lies. I think having that clear identity of, okay, this is the style of football that Aston Villa play. When they come to town, we know what we're getting. And I think that was a big thing for Brendan Rodgers, again, another one who maybe didn't have the CV of success that you would be like, oh, he compares with so-and-so and so-and-so. At the time, Liverpool obviously a different place. They weren't as successful as they are now. But, Swansea had a clear way of playing. Everyone knew they were going to keep the ball, they were going to try and press high and be progressive. And I think that's kind of what sold him across to a lot of people. Obviously, he's then since gone on and had success here, there, and everywhere. But he had that clear identity of no matter what, Swansea were going to give it a go, and they played against some of the best boys the same or similar way how they did against the lower teams. And I think for me, that's what I want to see from Gerrard, is that consistency over a prolonged period of time.
I guess I'm just realising now that managers in the past so frequently have been appointed with not much success.
Correct.
So even like, Brendan Rodgers coming in, he's not had trophies to his name. So up to this point, I was thinking, okay, what does Gerrard need to do? I'm not really expecting Villa to win anything, just based on kind of where they are now and any kind of club expectations. But regardless of whether I think he wants it, I think he does want it. What I'm trying to say is, I can just see it happening. He could have a pretty mediocre managerial career, and Liverpool fans are always going to love him. The club's going to love him. People higher up in the club will probably know him from his time as a player. And if there ever comes a time where we need a manager and we give him the call, I reckon he'll accept it every time. I mean, it's not been shambolic. His record this season, he's not started well. Towards the end of last season, Villa was struggling. He's kind of on a bit of thin ice now, but he's probably done enough to still get a call up. Like, it would need to be purely shambolic for him to write off his chance of ever getting a call up. And I mean, even in like 10, 20 years, like, managers can obviously manage like for so long. Like, they don't need to be like young or anything. Like, he's still got so much time. He's still a pretty young manager in comparison. So even if 2024 or whenever 2026 now, I think when Klopp leaves, it could be 2036 when Gerrard comes in. Like, that's not too crazy an idea.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear you. I think there's so many examples of like managers not necessarily doing well for period X, and then somehow they turn around or get a big job and they're all good again. Like, even you look at someone like Mourinho now, you would say he's almost like tainted goods towards this back end of his career. Now he's gone to Roma and they're doing quite well.
Yeah.
They're probably going to look at challenging for the league this season in Italy. So there's a good example of, it's never really over. But I'm probably going to go the other way. I don't think. I don't think I can see Stevie ever getting the job.
What?
Yeah, no, I just can't see them hiring him.
You're lying to me now.
No, genuinely, I don't think he'll ever manage Liverpool.
What?
Yeah, no, that's 100% my prediction. I don't think he'll ever manage Liverpool.
What? Nah, you're just saying that.
No, 100%.
You don't think he'll manage?
No, I just it breaks my heart because he's definitely like every Liverpool fan of like this generation. He's my favourite player. Was like my idol. You're getting a shirt, you're getting Stevie G on the back. I'll love him to the day I die, but I just don't think he's good enough.
Well, you're judging on now, like 10 years
but like
time.
to be honest, like I was kind of disappointed even in Scotland. They just seem to fall apart at the last hurdle too often.
They went the whole season unbeaten.
Yeah, but what I mean is like they had these cup failures as well surrounding that. Like, to win one league title when all you got to do is beat Celtic in a couple of games. Realistically, you got to beat other teams as well. They obviously had some struggles with Aberdeen as well. But no, just Aston Villa as well. I can't see it. I think Liverpool is now at a stage where Klopp's built us to such a level that we have to sustain that regularly. If we have one season off, which who knows with this season where that's going to go. But if we have one season of dip, I think the Premier League as a whole is catching up now, everyone. We can't take the risk, we can't take a chance on Gerrard maybe working. I think we'll have to consistently go for managers that are proven to get results.
Well, by the time, in 10 years' time, though, Gerrard could be that guy.
He could be, but I don't think he'll ever be that guy. And I think that, idealistically, if we are moving on from Klopp, it's probably going to be too soon for Stevie. Then that next manager, whoever it is, has a sustained period of success. So for me, I don't think it.
But that, Liverpool obviously was so successful, and then 30 years of no title. Like, we did go down, and you're trying to say, like, we're in that moment now where the level's so high, we can't afford to dip. But naturally, things will dip.
Naturally, it will. But
and even like United, who had like Ferguson, and you're like, oh, no way we're gonna appoint anyone who can't keep this standard. Yeah. And they go, oh, David Moyes, yeah, he'll be great, and then immediately it's down. Gerrard could easily come in and dip, but it could be anyone. It could be the best manager in the world at the time who could come in and just might not work out for whatever reason.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I think you made a very good point as well. At like, who knows where Liverpool will be, and it might be worth like, we'll take a bit of a hit on Stevie for a little while and things like that. Like,
it buys time.
A curve may be down for Liverpool's trajectory, and Stevie might have this time to figure things out. So I think there are more situations whereby he is a possibility. but I think that's all around us not achieving maximal success. But yeah, I think there are more circumstances where you could see Gerrard coming in. However, I'm going to go for the minority of circumstances and say that he won't come in.
Wait, you're saying you don't think he will, or you don't want him to?
I don't think he will.
I think it's inevitable. Like, I just think if Gerrard, if we've seen Lampard go to Chelsea, we're just like, hey, look, this guy was a great player, get him in there. Chelsea, who famously are like, we're going to spend all the money on the best players, we're going to get the best managers, we're going to sign this manager, we're going to sack him the next year if he's not won the league. Like, they're ruthless. They put him in, and that's based on the fact that he's just a player. Like, I think
Chelsea is like one club that you can't really draw parallels with, because especially under Abramovich, they were that hire and sack club of like, if the trophy is not here now, you're out.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. Maybe it was strategic because they couldn't sign anyone, so maybe they realised...
reducing the risk.
Yeah, and they're buying themselves time by appointing a manager that fans won't be singing to get him out. Yeah. Because they're going to be like, for a normal manager, they might be like, okay, these standards have dropped, get him out, but they're like, oh, it's Frank, like, that's fine. Like, we enjoy seeing him there, like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt because they've already got the reputation and that rapport with the fans. But just from what I've seen with Arteta going to Arsenal, in terms of just those three managers who are like players turned managers, I think Gerrard has had the better managerial career based on the fact he has gone to Scotland and he's won that trophy. You say it's a two-horse race, but that's not saying it's a given that you're not going to win 50% of the titles, and yet the other two have gone in there. So I just think, that's just the way of the world, it seems to me.
I can't see a situation where him coming in would be maximal.
What about when if Klopp wasn't available, and let's say you rewind to Brendan Rodgers when he got sacked, and then you've got like a Gerrard of now, like that would have been...
Yeah, no, I don't. I think it still would have been more rebuild. And it was like clear and obvious at that time, Liverpool needed to push the boat out for someone with a bit of something. Like, I remember all the news at the time was Klopp or Ancelotti. Like, that was all Liverpool fans were saying, get one of these two people. Because they were like clear success. And I think we were at that point in time where we had to do something different. We tried something different after Benitez with things like Hodgson, of like this manager who can manage on a budget and get players working, and obviously had great success with Fulham, so we'll just mirror that Fulham model in Liverpool. That didn't work. We'll bring in the local hero of Kenny Dalglish. You've said maybe a bit of success because he got trophies, but ultimately that's unsuccessful for me. Okay, that didn't work, so now we'll try with like a young rebuild. Brendan Rodgers is just like these appealing things, always missing that element of pure Pep Guardiola. Simeone sort of have just got something in, even Mourinho. They've got that X factor. So it was like we had to get someone like Klopp, and understand there was a bedding in process, which there was, but ultimately it would lead to long-term success, which it has. I feel like Gerrard is just going back to that method of like, oh, we'll give him time to build and we'll give him time to find his feet without any proven track record of achieving consistent success, but also that identity. Klopp, renowned for high press, renowned for his team's heavy metal football and all the rest of it. Okay, well, we know that's what he's bringing, and we'll give him X amount of time to get his feet and get the team playing in that way, get players in that he wants. He goes, I think we would be better off pushing for a shorter-term manager, a 3-4 year, even like a Conte style, not necessarily him specifically, but someone you're bringing Conte in to win. And if you don't win, he's leaving. That would probably suit Liverpool better to maintain that higher place position right now and give Gerrard more time than bringing him in. But ultimately, you're just giving him more time until he proves something that I'm not sure he can ever prove.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hypotheticals because the basis on which Klopp leaves, or anyone in future, whether it's after Klopp 10 years' time, is going to also determine. Because if say, Klopp has had a successful time at Liverpool and he just finishes his contract and just decides to walk away, then it's kind of like, okay, start of a new chapter, what do we want? But if it starts taking a dip and then all of a sudden it's so bad that they're like, okay, we need to get this guy out ASAP. You see even clubs when there's like a couple games left of the season, or they bring in like an interim manager, or they'll just leave like the 2IC there, or like a senior player in the team might step up, like how Ben Mee did towards the end of like the Burnley. They're somewhat like a player manager. Depending on where it is, I think even in those times, Gerrard might be more likely. Because I remember when Chelsea gave Hiddink the remainder of the season. I mean, if Gerrard is out of contract or he's not working, he could even do that. Even Michael Carrick at United. Yeah, it kind of did. I think in certain circumstances, he's even more likely to come in, is what I'm saying.
And that's what I definitely hear that, and I agree that there are more situations where he would be likely to come in. Because Liverpool aren't going to win the league every year. We're definitely not going to win it this year. And ultimately that is success for us. So whatever we're doing, we want to build towards that. Are we going to win the Champions League? I mean, there's some amazing teams in there and our form is not indicating that we will. So there's the two big ones that we're not likely to achieve under Klopp. So if we're not going to achieve them under Klopp, should we not be rebuilding for someone else? I definitely hear that argument. For me, I just think there's just something where I just can't see it being Gerrard. I think it's too much hope and not enough.
You mean it's too emotional?
It's too emotional. Yeah, exactly.
Not logical.
And not logical.
Yeah.
If he hadn't played for Liverpool, he would never be mentioned near the job. The only reason, because he doesn't have any success or any identity, the two things that I'm saying you need, one or the other, or both, in the case of the best managers, he doesn't have either right now, or I can't see that coming in the near future to put him into the job. And would we not be better of a rebuild with a younger manager like an Eddie Howe or Graham Potter? These kind of managers who have proven identity, proven capacities to work over a long space of time. Bournemouth should never be in the Premier League. And how long did Eddie Howe keep them in the Premier League, playing a certain style of football? Admittedly, towards the end it did go down, but again, he's fighting against all the odds. Now he's gone to Newcastle. Is it correct that they've, since January, got the third most points in the Prem?
Sounds about right. Definitely last season they were second.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? So he's coming in. Obviously he's getting a big influx of money, but a manager who's there taking identity from one place to another and got success.
Yeah.
I would prefer to have a rebuild period or a restructure or a re-emphasis with a manager like that than just pure emotion for Stevie.
Yeah. No, I get your point. It makes sense, but I just think the club's more likely to... they already, when he finished playing, they offered him a job coaching the youth team. If
Stevie ends up coming on, he's my favourite ever player.
No, but you were saying, not that you're against it happening, but you just don't think it will happen.
I don't think it will.
Okay.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think we're stuck at a bit of an impasse anyway, so... Yeah, perfect. All right, so that was our discussions on Stevie G potentially getting the Liverpool manager position. Let us know what you think. Make sure to like and subscribe. Anything else to add?
No.
Brilliant. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Thanks.